So I done there did it. I finally finished Stephen King's It after about a month and a half. Okay, these we have here 1,376 pages. And I'm gonna go right into this book. This book is about characters. Stephen King is very good at developing these seven characters, which are kids, and then we continue on with the present where they are adults. This book did not scare me at all. At all. The seven protagonists, the children, I keep wondering because they seem to be a bit special. And I keep wondering if they have the shining because they have some sort of insight or some sort of aura about them, right? And all of them become pretty well off in the future as adults, right? So that's what I wonder. The second thing that I wonder is why doesn't Pennywise just snatch them one after the other, right? Uh, it just doesn't make sense to me unless the shining that they have, which I assume they have, prevents Pennywise from attacking them. I think it is pretty clear that Pennywise uh, likes to tenderize its prey with fear, right? But at the same time, it could just sideline one of these kids and scare them to death and then feast upon them. So it doesn't really make sense why it does not just do that. Just like in The Shining, Danny being a little kid in this haunted hotel, there are times when Danny is alone and the fucking ghosts, they don't do anything. And I assume that is because Danny has the Shining as well, which prevents these spirits from snatching him, right? So is that why Pennywise does not just pick them one after the other, right? This book was extremely long. It did not need to be this long. I was like 300 pages in, 700 pages in, and I just kept wondering where the fuck is Pennywise? He was barely in this book, and then finally, when you reach about page 1000, that is when things actually commence. Before that, we just meander along and nothing really happens. Nothing of importance. This book could have been way shorter, and this book should have been straight to the point. It did not need this many pages. And one thing that I want to say about Pennywise is Pennywise is a predator. Derry is a sort of place where there's a lot of water. Of course, where there is water, you have animals, ergo prey. Where you have prey, you have predators. Predators know that if you have a body of water, prey will come along eventually, right? There's a lot of water symbolism around Derry. I'm gonna probably shock a lot of people by saying this. Actually, I'm gonna say two things. This book, or I should say, the comedy, the comedy in this book did not age well. The comedy in this book did not age well. There are a lot of, especially, let's call them jokes, in the dialogue portion, and it just does not hit for me. It just seems kind of, I don't know. The only It's outdated. It's lame. It's goofy, right? I think that's the perfect word to describe the comedy in this book. It is extremely goofy. It is, let's call it, old-fashioned. It does not hit. I don't think a lot of people today can resonate with this type of humor. The way the kids talk to each other, it is whatever, right? And another thing, for a hot second, Richie was cute. Okay, Richie for 2 seconds with his voices, uh, he was cute. But after a while, he just rubbed me the wrong way. He was just intolerable. Voice after voice after silly, silly voice. And Stephen King does not relent at all when it comes to Richie. He just keeps on going, and after a while, I was just fed up with Richie, and every time every time he employed one of his voices, I was just like, okay, Richie, please stop, please stop. Okay, nobody wants this, nobody likes this, nobody's laughing at this. Please stop, right? So Richie to me is terrible, terrible. His voices are something else. Okay, and here is where I'm going to say probably the most controversial thing in this review, which is that I, I'm talking about the book here. Pennywise in this book, he's a chump. Okay, if you are objective, purely objective, right? I haven't watched the original movie, and I haven't watched the two movies that came out recently, so I'm basing my review on this book. And in this book, okay, Pennywise is a chump. He's a goofball of the highest order. Okay? Like I said, for about 1,000 pages, Pennywise barely appears, right? And when Pennywise does appear, okay, when Pennywise does appear, the things that it does, its tactics, its pranks, its strategy, it's so lame, so lackluster, so third rate, so amateurish, right? It sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. Like every time Pennywise appears, and I get that the children who grow up and now are adults, they have trauma, they have been scarred beyond belief. I understand that, but I'm telling you, as a reader, immersing myself in this world, every time Pennywise appears and does one of its little stunts to scare the children or the adults, I'm just, I'm just rolling my eyes, and this is what I mean that this book hasn't aged well. Because every time Pennywise appears, he does something with the silly balloons, and there's some writing on the balloons, right? There's something on the balloons, and there's a little witticism written on the balloons, and he Pennywise says some fucking witty, clever little thing that's supposed to scare people, and I'm just like, every time, like, listen, bro, if Pennywise appeared to me and did his silly balloon routine, whatever, I was just like, bro, get the fuck out of my face, bro, right? With this stupid shit, right? Uh, It's just silly. Of course, uh, these are methods by which you can scare children. I understand that the children are scared by this thing, but I, as a reader, just cannot accept this as being scary. I mean, this dude does the same thing over and over again, with few exceptions. We have the blood scene with Beverly, but for the most part, Pennywise just appears. It has a few balloons, and there's something written on the balloons, and then Pennywise says something, something that a Looney Tunes character might say, and I'm just sitting here, reading this scene, and I'm just like shaking my head. I don't know, right? If Pennywise came to me now and did his silly routine, I would tell him to leave. Right? It's like, Pennywise, I got other things on my mind. Okay, I'm worried that I'm gonna get another hernia, for example. That's what scares me. What scares me is that I might lose my job, that I might not be able to pay the bills on time because of this inflation. That's what scares me, Pennywise, not some silly ass routine with balloons, right? I mean, and then we have the scene with the Paul Bunyan statue with Richie, and it's goofy. Okay, it's goofy. Pennywise's methods, for the most part, are just goddamn lame. They're just lame. Every time Pennywise is in a scene, and every time Pennywise does something to scare the children, I'm just sitting here, just you know, uh, detached, indifferent. Right? I'm just like, I'm so over it. Right? Every time this dumbass clown shows up and does his stupid shit, I'm just like, all right, bro. All right, we get it, bro. Get out of my face with this stupid shit. Right? We're all gonna float down here. Yeah, great. Great. How about you say that another 10 times, bro? Right? Pennywise, listen, Pennywise, for the most part, is a one-trick pony, right? Another thing with this book, I'm getting sick and tired of these bully antagonists. Okay, I'm getting really damn sick and tired of this goddamn bully antagonists in these books that just fucking, for 1,000 fucking pages in this book, Henry Bowers and his stupid ass friends, they just do the dumbest shit, the lamest shit. They bully a bunch of little kids, you know, for whatever reason, and I'm just sick and tired of this sort of archetype. If you're gonna do a bully character, okay, do something else. Because I'm getting tired of these goddamn brainless, inbred, redneck bully characters that have absolutely nothing better to do than to harass a couple of kids and then eat beans and then light their farts on fire and so on. It's just so goofy. Nobody wants to. Every time these dumbasses were on the page, I was just like praying and begging Stephen King to stop. Okay, do something else with your bully antagonists. Okay, stop making them these goddamn morons. These bullies in this book are one step away from being troglodytes, basically troglodytes, right? At least write them in a more sophisticated way. Write them in such a way that, let's say, they love what they do. They just love to cause suffering and pain in others, right? Something else. Make them more complex in a way. I'm getting tired of this cliche that every fucking bully is just this mindless fucking redneck dumbass that just goes along, right? Do something else. It's not the fact that they're just bullies, it's that this is all that there is. This is what they do and nothing else, except eat beans and light their farts on fire. Make them more complex, alright? They're just so goofy and obnoxious and irritating. I was begging Stephen King to stop this nonsense, and he just went on and on and on with these dumbasses, right? And this is, I'm going to talk about another thing that bothered me a little bit about this book, right? In this book, certain scenes are hyped up a lot, right? And I'm going to start with these bullies, especially Henry Bowers. You know, he comes back as an adult, and you're just like, holy shit, shit is gonna go down. Pennywise is manipulating this chump to do his dirty work, right? And obviously now adult Henry Bowers is fucking crazy as shit, and you think shit is gonna go down, right? And then when we reach that point that should be gratifying, I mean, Henry Bowers just gets fucking stabbed with a bottle, right? And just dies after 1,000+ pages of hype, right? I mean, it was not gratifying at all, right? It was disappointing, right? And the same disappointment is throughout this book when certain moments are hyped up, and then when we reach those moments, they just fall flat on their feet, right? We have the, apocalyptic rock fight, and you're like, oh my god, what really happened there? And when you reach that, it was just a fucking rock fight. That's it. And then we move on, right? Another thing, Henry Bowers killing his fucking crazy ass father. And when you reach that point, you're like, oh shit, now it's gonna go down. We're gonna have a crazy scene. And then it just happens in a couple of fucking sentences. He stabs his father in the neck, and the dude just dies, and that's it. And that's it. And then we move on, and the disappointment is just immense, right? Immense. The same thing with when the kids confront Pennywise the first time. It's just overhyped as fuck, and you're just like, oh boy, this is gonna be crazy. And then they go under the sewers, they confront Pennywise, and it is the lamest thing ever. It is just the lamest thing ever, right? And then we move on. It's extremely disappointing. And then the second and final confrontation, it is of the same ilk. It is just crazily overhyped. You're like, oh boy, this time for sure we're gonna see some crazy shit, and then it's just the lamest thing ever, right? It's just the lamest thing ever. Pennywise transforms into this giant ass spider, and basically, Bill and Richie use their fucking spiritual fucking chakra power to defeat Pennywise, and that's pretty much it. They just fucking run into Pennywise the spider with their fucking chakra, with their chi chakra, whatever, their Kundalini energy, and they just kill Pennywise allegedly, and it doesn't deliver. It's not impactful. It's not It's not fulfilling in any way. The let's say it like this: the pivotal moments in this book that should have been amazing and insane fall flat on their feet, and they disappoint, and they're not impressive at all. And this is just me, okay? This is just me. Pretty much what I want to talk about is I want to talk about Pennywise because its powers and its origins are extremely interesting. So Pennywise is a sort of its powers is if you believe that Pennywise is scary, if you are afraid of Pennywise, then that is a sort of consent that permits Pennywise to kill you, allegedly, right? That's pretty much what it is, and it can copy whatever you're afraid of, right, to scare you. And the kids, what they're afraid of, one is afraid of, the mummy, one is afraid of the werewolf, one is afraid of Frankenstein, and I get it. Those were the times in the late 50s. It was a different era, it was a different mindset, right? People were different. But as a person reading this in 2022, I mean, these kids are afraid of fucking, you know, pop culture, movie fucking characters, whatever, and it's just, yet again, it's lame. Anyway, so Pennywise came from space like a million years ago or a billion years ago, whatever. Pennywise came from the unknown, landed on Earth, and it decided to stay in that place where it landed, and that place became Derry. And late in the book, it's pretty obvious that Pennywise has some sort of telepathic control over the population of Derry. Because there are certain moments, especially there's a moment before the kids confront Pennywise for the first time, and no adult is, you know, outside. It seems like all the adults are inside. And this leads me to believe that yes, indeed, Pennywise can manipulate the adults in Derry, and it seems to have a sort of soporific and amnesic effect on people in general. And the amnesia and the forgetfulness is the one thing that really is interesting to me, because even the kids who have the shining, if if they leave Derry, they kind of forget everything that happened to them, and then 27 years pass, and then they remember, right? Because of Mike Hanlon. And apparently the clown character and the spider character and all of the Pennywise, the clown that we're dealing with in Derry, from what I understand, is just some sort of holographic, energetic projection, and that Pennywise's real essence or body or whatever is actually in like another dimension. That's what I understand. From what I understand, Stuttering Bill, kind of makes this assessment that the clown that we're dealing with is just like a sort of projection, right? It's not the true physical embodiment. the true physical embodiment is either somewhere far into space or in another dimension, right? But then again, when they have those visions in the smoke hole, the vision clearly shows that a physical thing lands in that place where that place will become dairy. So I'm a bit confused, right? Whether or not this thing that we have to defeat is actually the thing, or is it just some sort of shadow, right? Cast by the real thing that's in another dimension, right? And another thing, so we have Pennywise, and then we have this giant fucking celestial divine turtle, and the turtle just vomited the universe and everything in the universe, right? And Pennywise and the turtle are like siblings, but the turtle is extremely, extremely ancient, right? and then and then we find out that there is another. Bill calls it the other. We have late in the book we have a couple of, let's call it, short chapters from the point of view of Pennywise, which are probably the most interesting chapters in this entire novel. And in these POV chapters, Pennywise says that for a long time it thought that there was just it and the turtle. But then it sensed the other, right? And we find out later that the other is the one that created the turtle and Pennywise, right? But from Pennywise's monologue, internal monologue, it seems to me that it does not really know what the other is. It just knows, kind of, no, I mean, it doesn't really know that this other really exists. It's just some sort of hypothesis, and Pennywise is always just vacillating, whether or not this other exists or not, right? Which, this is probably one of the most interesting parts of this entire book. This Pennywise lore, right, is the most interesting, and it makes you think what's really going on here, right? You have to ask yourself, if Pennywise came here on this earth voluntarily, or if it was banished here, right, by something else, the other or the turtle, or if Pennywise fled from the other. I mean, there are a few motives why Pennywise came here, right? But the answers, we never get answers to our questions, which is a shame because I would have liked to find out more about Pennywise's backstory, background, history, etc. Another thing, this really aggravated me because when Child Bill fights Pennywise for the first time, he is sort of banished. His spirit is banished into some sort of, I don't know, dimension or whatever, into an abyss. And he meets the turtle. And he begs the turtle to help him to defeat Pennywise. And the turtle is like, nah, bruh, I'm chilling right now. right? And I think this happens also when they're adults and they're fighting Pennywise for the second time. I think Bill yet again begs the turtle to assist him, and the turtle is like, "Nah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine." Uh, and this really pisses me off because the turtle is, let's call it, the god that created this universe, right? And this turtle did nothing when Pennywise landed and killed so many people over the millennia, right? And now we have this kid that's asking for its help, and the turtle, simply refuses. And, I've always hated this, let's call it cliche or stereotype of, deities not preferring not to interfere in the affairs of mortals, and the turtle says, "Ah, you'll do just fine. You have to do it yourself," right? This archetype, or let's say this trope in literature, always pissed me off because I mean, these entities, these godlike entities, they just sit back, relax, and all of this suffering is happening on Earth in Derry, for example, and they just don't do nothing. And when somebody asks them for help, they just say, "Nah, bruh, you'll be fine, bruh." And I mean, the turtle is the worst, right? And then we find out that the turtle died for whatever reason, whatever, and then after adult Bill kills kills Pennywise in their second fight, Bill hears, which I assume to be the voice of the other, and the voice of the other says, "Ah, you did well, kid," or something like that. You did good work, son," or something like that. That's what the other said, and I was like, "Yo, bro, could you fucking fuck off? Either help me or give me some advice or tell me how to defeat this thing or whatever." It's like, I don't need your compliments, right? The nerve of this other, whatever it is, right? It's just it's infuriating because I really have a problem with gods and their arrogance, right? But anyway, uh the deadlights are interesting. I I still don't know what they really are because in the book they shine through Pennywise's eyes. In the recent movie adaptation, he just opens his mouth and the lights come out of him. Whatever, right? I don't know what the deadlights are exactly. Are they the closest thing to what Pennywise really is, or I don't know what they are, but they're fascinating. They're fascinating, and the spider form is, well, allegedly it is the closest thing that resembles its true form, right? But it's not accurate. And a couple of times in this book, I think it is Ben who notices this, but he is the one who catches, brief glimpses of Pennywise's true form. And my interpretation is that Pennywise doesn't really have a form. He is a formless copycat. He's a plagiarist. You know, he has no real form. That is what I believe. This thing has to mimic, other life forms because it is, well, you know, how should I say this? Pennywise is an entity without an identity, right? It is just a simple predator, a killing machine, and it only knows how to feed and how to scare its prey, and then after it has fed, it just goes to sleep, right? So my belief is that Pennywise doesn't really have a form. Another thing is, so after Pennywise feeds, after 27 years, it goes back into hibernation. And my question is, while it is sleeping for 27 years or so, does Pennywise have the ability to still monitor and oversee what happens in Derry? While it's sleeping, does it still manipulate behind the scenes? Because that's what it seems to me. And also, it se- even though for whatever reason Pennywise chose to stay in Derry, Pennywise can go to other places. Adult Henry Bowers is in a mental institute, I think somewhere away, far away from Derry, and Pennywise just appears and manipulates this dumbass, right, to do its bidding. So Pennywise can move around. Pennywise can go places. Pennywise is not limited or bound to Derry. It just likes Derry because somewhere in the book, Bill says, Derry is Pennywise. Pennywise is it, etc. It has shaped the town and the people in its likeness or whatever, right? Another thing, probably the most terrifying thing in this book is we find out that Pennywise is a she, that Pennywise is a female, and we find out pretty late in the book that Pennywise is actually pregnant. And this one thing just came out of nowhere. And you know what my first question was? My first question was, yo, who clapped Pennywise's cheeks? Okay, that was my first question when I found out that it was pregnant, right? Like, who clapped Pennywise's cheeks? I want to find out. Is it asexual or was somebody clapping cheeks? That's what I want to know, right? It was just bizarre, right? Bizarre. So we have this giant ass spiders and it is pregnant and it has fucking spider eggs. And my question is, was Pennywise pregnant before? Did it have offspring before? Or is this the first time? And if this is the first time, my question is why? Why now? Right? I mean, does it take millennia, tens of thousands of years for Pennywise to gestate, or what's going on? This is not explained. And if you know this answer, please tell me in the comment section because this is fascinating, right? So Pennywise is expecting offspring, but it is pushed back by the adults, the losers, and it gets injured, and then it has a sort of abortion, and all of the eggs with its children are squashed by Ben. About 100 or so, right? And my question is, like, what kind of offspring does it have? Like, if it succeeded in giving birth, like, what kind of fucking kids would like Pennywise have? It just don't make no sense. This is, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would it have kids? Right? It doesn't make sense. For what purpose? Right? For what purpose? Like, why would it reproduce? Right? It just don't make no sense to me. And what would these fucking kids look like, right? Because when Ben smashes them, they look like fucking baby spiders, right? So I'm just fucking confused, all right? And I mean, imagine if one egg like survived and it's still somewhere in the dairy, pipeline somewhere, right? I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, that was a crazy scene. That was probably the only moment when Stephen King really like startled me. It's like, yo, not only is Pennywise female for some reason, but somebody clapped them cheeks. Somebody clapped those clown Spidey cheeks, and I was like, who done there did it? Right? Who done there did it? But anyway, uh, this book took me forever to read, and I won't probably read it again because there's just so much trivia. There is so much miscellaneous in here, right? Right there are chapters after chapters of Mike Hanlon just bombarding us with certain events that happened in Derry in the past, and oh boy, there's it in the background whenever a massacre happened, and I'm like, no shit, Sherlock, what did you expect? And I love this. Is like every time some massacre or some sort of fucking tragedy happened in Derry, like Pennywise is somewhere on the scene and dressed as a clown, and the people there were just, well, I guess the circus is in town, right? I'm just like, bro, have you seen other clowns around? No. That there is a fucking demon, right? But these goddamn people, they're just so brain dead, they're like, well, I guess the circus is in town. Yeehaw! Right? Goddamn. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, there were good parts in this book, but I just didn't feel it, right? I just didn't feel it. There are a lot of chapters that keep changing the fucking timelines. One chapter were children, one chapter were adults. They keep interchanging, right, etc., etc. Uh, like I said, what the kids are afraid of, uh, it's just lame, right? It takes way too much time, you know. It just takes way too much time for the kids to finally fucking defeat this thing as adults, whatever. And you know what? I'm gonna close this video with this. The true villains of this book are the adults. Okay? The true villains of this book are the adults, the society there, the mindset, the mentality of these people, right? Because and I understand that Pennywise has something to do with manipulating these parents to be, I don't know, airheads or whatever. But Stephen King kind of throws jabs at this American society that just overlooks what happens to kids, right? All the bullying, these kids, they're just by themselves most of the time. The parents ignore them. All of the adults basically ignore them. Even when bad things happen to them, the adults are just like, well, I gotta go to my job or whatever, right? So the true villains of this book are the adults because they are pretty much indifferent to what happens to their kids. I mean, sometimes they come home injured and apparently they don't notice, right? For whatever reason, right? And they also allow crazy people like Henry Bowers' father to just influence his kid Henry to be just as fucking crazy as he is. And then Henry influences his so-called friends to be bullies as well, and they just, by the end of this book, they just become these fucking maniacs that do whatever they want, and the adults just they just scurry away because they're afraid of a bunch of like 12-year-olds, right? The police doesn't do nothing. They're all incompetent, and I understand that Pennywise has something to do with this, but I think Stephen King tried to make a commentary on society itself, right? So this was it. Not bad, but definitely not the best book that I have ever read. Uh, that's pretty much it, right? This is a behemoth of a book, right? And sometimes it is torture to read. It is a drag to read. After 1,000 pages, I couldn't read like more than 20 pages. It was just lagging like crazy, meandering. After 1,000 pages, you're just exhausted, right? But anyway, this was my review of Stephen King's It, and I'm gonna leave you with this. If you didn't know, I'm also a writer. I've got a couple of books published. They're on Amazon, right? If you want to support your boy, you can go on Amazon and you can buy these books and help me out. Support this channel. The link will be down below. And, thanks for watching. See ya.